I created a presentation here that's called 6 Strategies to Stand Out to Home Buyers. And what we're talking about is your buyer representation activities. Everybody thinks, oh, I've heard all about buyer reps all year long. Hone the craft, sharpen the saw. That's what we're going to do here. I'm going to hit some 6 high points, and then I'm actually going to give you a 7th bonus strategy that will help you improve your business and do better at buyer representation. So what's the point of this? Well, in today's market, if you think being a tour guide and making new friends is what this is all about only, you're going to fail. You will not succeed over the long term with that mentality that has been successful in the past. It is no longer, because it's a much more competitive market today than it ever has been. I'm going to try to, we're trying to position you, trying to give you something other than just technical knowledge, and trying to give you some mental kick in the butt, if you will, on how to increase your buyer representation skill set. That's what this is all about. So let's break into strategy number 1. It begins with understanding the buyer's needs. This is the number one problem that I see in our marketplace. The number one problem I see in this industry is that when a buyer rep goes in and starts talking to a buyer in a buyer presentation, they want to sell themselves. They want to push themselves on that buyer to convince that buyer to use them. Use me, use me, use me, use me. Okay, that is the absolute last thing you need to be doing. You need to stop selling and start listening. Listen to what the buyer's needs are, listen to what their pain points are, and then design your presentation around what their pain points are at that moment. You have 100% commission here. You can do it however you want to, whether you want to do it with money or whether you want to do it with marketing or whether you want to do it with something else. But listen, there's a reason God gave you 2 ears and 1 mouth. And yet most of us have a tendency to act like we have 2 mouths and 1 ear. That's half deaf. So it starts with the in-depth buyer interview. Develop a comprehensive intake form is my first suggestion. And make sure you have it in writing what their needs are, because you can have a conversation, you can get to know them, and 30 minutes later you will have forgotten most of what they told you. But if you've got an intake form, if you've got a foundational document that helps guide the entire relationship, then you know exactly what the needs are. I don't know if you guys watch House Hunters International on TV or any of the House Hunter shows, really. Typically the first session of those shows shows the agent sitting down and talking with the buyer, and then making notes on what they're wanting, what that buyer's needs are. And that is critically important. You also want to set yourself up as an educator. And you can do that individually, one-on-one. You can do that in a group through first-time home buyer seminars, however you want to do it, and help educate them on complex concepts like PMI, escrow, property taxes. We've got a big boost in property taxes that just hit the Middle Tennessee market this year, so that's a big topic. Every one of you should be an expert on that by now. If you're not, then you're already behind the curve. Market analysis, figuring out exactly what hyper-local markets are doing and what the numbers are. We talked about that when we were talking about the national numbers just a minute ago. And now you're on the other side of the table working with the buyer and explaining to them what the real number should be on this house that's overpriced. And you can't do that unless you have facts and data on specific neighborhoods and specific types of properties. So I encourage you to spend a lot of time working on that. And then figuring out how to do efficient showings, like set your buyer matching software up. Called Real Scout. Okay, we give it to you. It doesn't cost you anything. Create preview videos on the properties that you're going to go look at. Try to avoid the trap of being the tour guide, just driving around looking at properties. Filter it down. Make them prove to you exactly this is of interest, this is of interest, that is not of interest. And then you filter that down so that you maximize your time together and you're not just, as I say, not just a tour guide. It's critically important. That's where it all starts. That's strategy number 1. Strategy number 2 is becoming the resource hub. This includes proactive communication, meaning staying in touch with your client during the process the entire time. Because have you ever had a situation where a client went sideways on you? They were telling you one thing, like we want to see 3 bedrooms, 2 baths in Mount Juliet. That's all we're going to look at. And yet then they keep sending you stuff in Hendersonville, or they keep sending you stuff in Gallatin. Okay. Communication, proactive communication eliminates that possibility because you're already ahead of it and you're keeping them informed and they're keeping you informed and you have the communication flow. Everybody walks around in this business with commission breath and they're afraid that somebody's going to run off on them and run off with their money and then they'll lose a client and they'll lose a commission. Instead of developing a professional relationship with a buyer, which would alert you to those danger signals early in the process, so that if there is a danger of that buyer vanishing on you or ghosting you, as they call it today, then you know it way ahead of time and you haven't spent a whole bunch of money. So stop operating from a paradigm of fear, operate from a paradigm of proactive communication. It's critically important. Financial tools. You must understand money. You must understand math. This is critical. You've got to vet your lender contacts. We have FCM, in-house lender here. They will meet with your people any time of the day or week, and you can get everything you need to know explained to them on the front end. Do it visually. Graphs, charts. I'm a big guy on graphs, right? And you don't know that by now. You haven't been paying attention, but people will hear what you say, but they will understand a picture 10 times faster. And then make sure that you are educating them. If they say they want this kind of house and say, well, have you considered that this might be an issue with that type of house, or this might be an issue in that area with flooding or whatever, all kinds of different things. It's a very busy street. If you encourage them to go sit in a neighborhood at 7 o'clock at night and say, is this the neighborhood I want to live in? But seek out and do your own research. Don't just put it out there in the closed group as a question. Seek out your own information, your own knowledge. There is a ton of free stuff that's out there. And then positioning yourself there as a comprehensive resource hub makes you the expert, right? It makes you, demonstrates that you have knowledge, it demonstrates that you have experience, and it gives the client, the buyer, a feeling of confidence in whatever you tell them. And you have some excellent resources right at your fingertips. You have these market reports on Benchmark Dash. You go to Agent Resources, scroll down to Market Reports. You can see Middle Tennessee, RTMLS. That means all of the Middle Tennessee. And then you can also do it by county individually. And when you click on that, you will see what you see over here on the right. You can break down for sale versus sold, average price per square foot, average days on market, so on and so forth. Now, these are by county numbers. I can't give you neighborhood numbers, but you can go to the MLS and get neighborhood numbers. And the MLS also provides you some good information too. This is available. This is a May 2025 market update. It tells you compared to 25 and 24 year over year change on all these new listings now under contract. And these are by Greater National MLS, but you can also break it down by individual counties there as well, with a whole lot more information. And this is the type of information that your clients need to know. They need to understand what the market trends are, so that one, if they're a buyer, they don't overpay. And if they're a seller, they don't list too high. And this data, this is available to you right there. All you have to do is pull it down and put it out there. And you also even have one on the front page where you can add specific data on a county, city, zip code on a widget on your homepage on RealTrax. I mean, they're bringing it and laying it right in your lap. All you have to do is set it up. It's right there. And most of you have never set it up. So go check that out. It could be very helpful to explaining who you are, what you're doing, and why you're doing it. And also help control the relationship, which is key. It's critical to what you're doing. The buyer presentation, the buyer rep agreement is also key. You want to explain your roles and duties clearly. You want to explain how you're going to get paid clearly, the expectations, the protection. All of this is critically important in the conversation. Oh, and by the way, we've got one for you again, back under Welcome Agent Resources, back under Marketing Resources. You have a buyer presentation already done for you in Canva. All you have to do is just customize it with your own information, your own data, drop it in there, and you've got a PowerPoint display that you can show to your client and establish the whole tone of the relationship and confidence that you are a professional and know what you're doing. You're not just a tour guide. It's critically important. It's critically important. It's also critically important that you use the new buyer rep agreement. You received a copy of this back in May, and you received an email in May that said what you see on the screen there, that as of June 1, we will no longer accept the old, the TAR form of the buyer rep agreement or the buyer listing agreement. And yet I get a report every Monday morning on what happened the week before, and we are still seeing that some of you are still using the TAR buyer rep agreements and the buyer listing agreements, and we are sending them back to you as of June the 1st. We are rejecting them and not accepting them, and your broker will be touching base with you on that. Now, I'm pretty sure that the people listening to this video are not the ones that have experienced that, because if you've listened to this video before, you know how our process that we're going through. So keep in mind that you want to make sure you explain the buyer rep agreement completely and everybody's roles and responsibilities, and that you have done it correctly. That's critical. Strategy number 3 is master techniques of negotiation. This is probably the single biggest point of failure of real estate agents in this area that I know of. Tips there is use a structured negotiation framework, understand how negotiation works, use a structured framework, follow a defined approach, do things exactly the same way every time. You know, people laugh at me for the processes that we've set in place here at Benchmark. And I can appreciate that because they don't have any. But the processes we set in place, and the reason we have them in place is why? Because repeatable processes create repeatable outcomes. And if you have a process in place for negotiation and you have it set, fixed, just write it down so you're doing the same way every time. Guess what? You're going to have the same outcomes every time. Do it well, you'll have good outcomes. Do it poorly, you'll have poor outcomes. Share those success stories, not only with your clients that you're working with, but also on social media and other areas. We'll talk about that in just a second, but do it in terms of tangible benefit to the reader. The example I used there is we secured 8,000 in repairs after presenting a detailed inspection summary. Okay, so it didn't say we got X numbers off we got a little bit off the sales price, or our buyer really liked us, or we had a big time, we went to dinner afterward and got drunk, or whatever. Give a specific data point on what success looked like in that relationship. And that's key, because then you're giving them something tangible. Ensure document accuracy. This is a big deal. This is a real big deal. Read the document. I promise you that many agents out here on both sides of the transaction, in our company and outside our company, have never read the actual documents from the beginning to the end, every word. It's a fill-in-the-blank process. I get it, and it lulls you into feeling of complacency, but you need to read and understand the documents. And if there's a legal phrase in there you don't understand, go educate yourself, because it's your job to also educate your client on what those clauses mean. And if you can't do that, then you're not doing your job correctly. And then to develop contingency strategies. If you have one process that you tried and worked 5 times and now it's not working anymore, don't give up. Develop an additional strategy or additional contingent strategy, and always have a war plan in writing for various scenarios. You know, the U.S. military, they have a battle plan for every possible scenario of war that they could fight. It's already booked, baked in a drawer, ready to go, pull out, follow the game plan. That's how you should have something similar to that as far as negotiation tactics go. So again, the key is strong negotiation skills directly translate to tangible financial benefits for your clients. And you need to identify that. You need to be ready to quantify that for your clients, because your clients are interested in some very specific things. This is this comes from a research report that just came out a few years ago, that what do clients value about a real estate agent's function? Well, 89% value the ability to create detailed, compelling offers. 53% value the paperwork, and 84% value the skill set of negotiation and negotiating correctly and to that client's benefit. So it's critically important to your client. And if you're not fulfilling that need, then you're kind of a has-been me too. If you don't really understand negotiating, then read some books. Here's 5 of the best books on negotiating that I have ever read. The one you see on the left there, Never Split the Difference, is probably the best negotiating book that has ever been written. If you don't read any 5, read that one and then go back and read it again. I actually have it on Audible and a hard copy that has yellow highlighter and notes flagged in it throughout. It's been very helpful to me, and that's all. You just go use Google the top 5 books on negotiation and then read them all. That's my biggest suggestion here. Strategy number 4 is build your online brand. Professional branding, okay? Content creation. content calendar, do it regularly, video content strategy, engagement practices. You know, a strong brand is going to be what draws people in. If you consider taking your car to a repair shop, what's the first thing you do? You go online, don't you? You go online and you look to see what the reviews on the car repair shop are. And I'm just picking on car repair shops because it's the easy one. Well, consumers are doing that with you now. And if you're MIA or you don't have a strong professional brand, they're drawing conclusions about you that may not be accurate, but it impacts their decision on whether they're going to do business with you or not. Okay. So it's critical that you have good video content out there. I mean, look at me. I have a face that's made for radio, yet I have lots of video content out there. All of this stuff that you see on the Benchmark YouTube channel, a lot of it is Huckleberry here. Okay. And I am a 66-year-old gray-haired old guy with bad acne scars. You have no excuse. You have no excuse for not doing your own video content. Just figure it out. Get over yourself, offer some value, engage your audience. We're not talking about discussing your kids and your puppies and your kitties. We're talking about business value creation here. We're talking about engaging them in something that they're interested in, particularly if they have indicated to you that they might be reviewing you to understand how you do business. Do a quickie video with your cell phone, text it to them and say, just thinking about you, here's what I got. It is amazing how well that works. And keep your social media fresh. Now, a lot of people hang a website out there and then they forget about it because they get busy. This should be part of your busyness, is making sure that your social media is fresh. You want to keep your profiles updated. A lot of you need a new photo, need a new headshot because you're using the one from 1975. Stop it. Get one that looks like you. Post regularly. Invest in the equipment to do so. And if you want to be a social media political warrior, go find something else to do for a living, because it will backlash on you in this career, and it will ruin your career and will also splatter on Benchmark. So just stay away from the political stuff. Stay away from polarizing conversations. They're not professional. You don't need to have them. That's not what this is for. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about for your business. You would never go to a doctor that was constantly on social media slamming other races, would you? And yet we see that over and over again on social media, where agents will get on there and they'll start yapping about something. They'll get caught up in a conversation. Before they know it, you have this snowball effect inside of control. And that is a hugely damaging situation. You just want to stay away from it. Just don't engage. Just don't engage. Okay. Strategy number 5 is leverage client testimonies. This is something else that is rarely used correctly in our industry. You want to capture the emotional journey of your clients and how you help them. Video testimonials, and then strategic content reuse. You can carve up the video into different segments and use it in different areas. And it works tremendously well. Because here's the statistical fact that an audience is 3 times more likely to believe what someone else says about you than what you say about yourself. So the simple fact that somebody else is saying it about you is automatically a brand of credibility in the eye of most audiences. 3 times more higher possibility of them believing it if somebody else says it than if you say it. I could say, I'm the best salesman in all of Nashville. I'm the best salesman in all of Tennessee. I'm the best salesman, whatever. I can say that till I'm blue in the face. But I can get 2 other people who actually walk that journey to do a quasi-emotional video with me. And guess what? It will go viral every time it happens. So focus on your testimonials. Get over the fact that, well, I don't want to be that guy or that gal who actually has to be vain and ask how we did. No. That's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about, number 1, did I do a good job? And if I did a good job, let's talk about together on the same video what transpired during that process. And number 2, if they say, well, you didn't do a good job, so I'm not going to do the video. Well, guess what? You've just gotten feedback on your job performance on where areas you need to improve. It's a no-lose situation for you. Either way, get those testimonials, get them written down, get the videos, put them out there, keep them turning on every transaction. Strategy number 6 is communicate your value effectively. So on the front end, you want to map the client journey, specifically highlighting the fact that you're going to spend 80+ hours, maybe 160 hours, depending on how good of a client you have, of the behind the scenes stuff that they don't know about. You want to visualize your efficiency using comparison charts. You want to quantify your impact. Again, this is talking about my negotiation strategy saved previous clients an average of $12,000 in the average in repair costs. Now, you don't want to say that if it's not true, but if it is true, then you want to press that quantify, the fact that you quantified your value to the consumer in their mind. You could say, well, I'm really good at getting money knocked off for repairs. That's not quantifying. Quantifying is I averaged $12,000 in repair cost discounts. Whatever, you understand my point. And then position yourself as a strategist, not as a foot soldier, but as a home buying strategist, somebody who can Sun Tzu this entire process and figure out how to get you, the buyer, into the home that you love in a very happy, easy manner. That's your job. You position yourself that way, communicate your value effectively, you're going to do very well in this business for sure. When a client clearly understands your value proposition, they're more likely to appreciate your services, follow your guidance, and refer you to others in their network. That's the key. This is how we build a business. It's called a flywheel effect. You get a flywheel going, you get it turning. It's really hard to get turning at first, but once you get it turning, it requires minimal effort to keep it turning. And the way you keep it turning is by investing in these 6 strategies that I've just given you. Use statistics to prove your value. It's about the math. It's not magic. Okay? That's the 6 strategies. I've got a bonus one for you. You ready? Go get some listings. You got a listing, you got a product in your hand to sell. You've got a product that will draw in other buyers. You've got a product to advertise to market. You can target your neighborhood. You can help the neighborhood. You can become a neighborhood expert because you have a listing in that neighborhood. And you're going to provide that information to prospective buyers that come along, as well as to other potential listing clients in that neighborhood. This kind of deals with farming, right? You want to make sure that you are soliciting a particular neighborhood. I used to teach a class on this stuff because that's how I built my business, was through farming. And it really was not hard. It just takes tenacity, and you have to keep going back after it, back after it, back after it, and balance your business approach. With each listing, you want to generate inbound buyer leads while leveraging showing feedback to sharpen your pricing advice for sellers. See the conversation about feedback being a useless process. I get that. But we've got a set of sellers out here that have in their head a prescribed amount that they want for their house, and they're not going to understand your word. They're only going to understand everybody else's word. If the market is rejecting their price, that's the only way they're going to understand it. And giving that feedback is key to that. You don't want to be abusive about it, but you want to be truthful. And if you say it should be X price, then you need to provide those comps for that. By the way, on comps, if you're using anything over 45 days old, it's too old. That's how fast this market is moving. I would even say 30 days, but I will go 45 if I have to. But just keep that in mind. You got cross-marketing opportunities, matching buyers in our database with your listing, and then also unrepresented buyers who might be subscribed to Real Scout could say, hey, I do realize that I need some help. Would you help me because I want to go look at that house that you've got listed? So you got a product in your hand, and then you got the ability to set up good presentations. So all that is to say, really, the last line that you see there at the bottom is remember that each seller you impress may become your next buyer client, because every seller is going to be a buyer somewhere. That's typically true on 99% of sellers. That 99% of sellers will become a buyer. And if you play it well, then they can be your client as a buyer also. So that way, again, it's the flywheel. You're creating a continuous pipeline of business. Listings, buyers, buyers, listings, listings, buyer. And that's how you elevate your real estate career, because you're going to apply these things consistently. You're going to use these strategies in daily practice. If you're a benchmark in, this entire slide deck is available to you on the dash under marketing resources, as is this video. This video is going to be on YouTube, but also on the dash. And then this slide deck, the PDF of this slide deck is right underneath. So if you want to take this out, take this PDF, print it out, make your notes, listen to the video again, make your notes on it, and develop your strategies, and then tell me about them. Give me some feedback and let me know how they work for you, because that's how we know we're all building successful businesses. You want to focus on your relationships, develop stronger connections with your clients. Everybody who knows you needs to know that real estate is how you feed your family. That's just a simple truth. And you can only do that if you have a relationship with people. It generates referrals, increase your word of mouth business, and then elevate your reputation. Those are all key parts of elevating your career strategy.